William Shakespeare once wrote in Julius Caesar, "The opinion of the world goes with me, but it is not always the opinion of the wise." On this episode, I'm going to break through some lies so you can be wise. Welcome to the Protégé Leadership Academy. I'm Rory Verrett, your favorite executive recruiter and career coach. Today is April 1st, commonly known as April Fool's Day. And you know what? I think we need to address some of the foolish things we hear about career success. There is so much bad information out there that I thought I'd do an episode about the 7 lies we hear about career success. These are the kinds of rules that people throw around like they're written in stone, but trust me, most of them are simply made up. So let's jump into it, and by the end of this episode, you won't be fooled anymore. Okay, first up, let's talk about this classic piece of advice. You should never take a pay cut. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a job that made you feel like you were running on empty? That you were just showing up day after day, doing the same thing, getting paid, but not really moving forward in life? Yeah, I've been there too. And here's the thing, a pay cut might actually be the best decision you could make. What? Are you crazy, Rory? You might be thinking. Why on earth would I take a pay cut? Well, hear me out. Sometimes taking a pay cut could lead to something much bigger in the long run. It could mean moving to a job that's more aligned with your values, gives you a better work-life balance, or offers growth opportunities that will pay off big time down the road. And you know what? Sometimes having time for yourself, your family, or pursuing other passions is worth a little less money in the bank. At one point in my career, I took a 70% pay cut. 70%, a cut of over $400,000. There were some existential questions I needed to answer in the middle of my career. That time, that space, it allowed me to figure out what I really wanted to do. It led to the launch of Protégé Ventures, the company I now lead. And when I think about what my mental and financial health would have been like had I stayed in that old scenario that I thought was high paying and prestigious, I can only thank God every time I don't work a Friday or look at my bank account. So yes, your immediate paycheck might take a hit, but if it leads to personal fulfillment or positions you to earn even more later, it could be the best career move you ever made. Next up, let's talk about the myth that you should work at the most prestigious company you can. We've all heard it. If you want to make it in your career, you need to work for a big name company like Google or Apple or Goldman Sachs. I'm sure there's a little part of you that thinks working at these big name companies must be the key to success, right? But here's the truth. Prestige does not equal happiness. Sure, companies like Google or Facebook might sound great on a resume, but let's not ignore the fact that these mega companies have notoriously high turnover rates. They have long work hours and work cultures that leave little room for work-life balance. Not to mention, the pressure and expectations can be so high that they lead to burnout faster than you can say prestigious. Now, don't get me wrong. Big name companies can offer great benefits, perks, and career opportunities. But that's not the only place where you can grow and succeed. In fact, smaller companies or startups can offer a unique experience that larger companies just can't provide. You might get more responsibility, learn new skills faster, and have a more personalized work experience without all the pressure of being a cog in a big corporate machine. And let's not forget that sometimes the prestige of these companies is really just a facade. They may offer all the shiny perks, but how many people are leaving those companies for greener pastures because the work culture is toxic, or they feel like they're just another number in a big giant system? Here's something that might surprise you. Employee satisfaction is often lower at big prestigious companies than at smaller or mid-sized companies. According to Glassdoor, companies like Google, Amazon, and Facebook have employee satisfaction scores that are often lower than companies with fewer resources but better company cultures. So, instead of chasing prestige, ask yourself, what really matters to you? Is it career growth, company culture, work-life balance, or just having the biggest name on your resume? Make the choice that aligns with your goals, not what someone else tells you is prestigious. Ah, yes, the good old "you should stay at least 2 years" rule. If you've heard this, you've probably been told that jumping from job to job to job looks bad on your resume. The idea is that you should stay at least 2 years in any position before moving on to your next opportunity. But here's the thing, that's not always true. Yes, some people will tell you that moving around too quickly looks like you can't commit. Recruiters say this all the time. And while there may be some truth to the notion that constantly hopping between roles without any direction is not ideal, it's not the full picture. In today's job market, changing jobs regularly is actually quite common. And in fact, it could be a smart move. According to LinkedIn, people who switch jobs every 2 or 3 years earn 50% more over the course of their careers compared to those who stay longer at a single company. That's a pretty big incentive to look for new opportunities when the time is right. If you're not learning anything, if your skills aren't advancing, or you feel stuck in your current role, then you should probably be looking for something new. It's absolutely okay to do that, even if it hasn't been 2 years yet. Life is short, and your career is something that should give you both professional growth and personal satisfaction. If the current job doesn't provide that, don't let a 2-year rule keep you from moving on. In fact, staying too long in a job where you're not growing could actually hurt your career in the long run. It might lead to stagnation, boredom, and missed opportunities elsewhere. So, the key isn't to follow some arbitrary timeline, but to focus on your growth and know when it's time to move on. Number 4, this advice is everywhere. Bring your authentic self to work. While this sounds lovely, there are some things you should know before you start going full-on authentic in the office. Here's the deal. Yes, you should absolutely be genuine. It's great to be authentic in your interactions and work with people, but being authentic doesn't mean you should unload every personal detail on your coworkers or bring every emotion you're feeling into the office. Remember that while being authentic is important, there is a time and a place for everything. Not everyone needs to hear about your latest breakup or your weekend adventures in extreme sports. And let's be real, being authentically frustrated or angry all the time isn't going to win you any office popularity contests either. It's about finding a balance between being yourself and adapting to the professional environment you're in. Also, there are definitely some environments that are less accepting of different authentic selves. In some industries, bringing your true self might be more difficult if your values or identity don't align with the culture. And that's okay. So while it's important to feel comfortable at work and bring your real, genuine self, remember, being authentic doesn't mean putting your personal life or raw emotions on full display at all times. Be true to yourself, but also adapt to the situation as necessary. Number 5, how many times have you heard your manager say, "We're family here at this company"? You know what that usually means, right? It's code for, we expect you to work a lot more than you're paid for, and you can't say no. Here's the truth. Companies are not your family. Nonprofits are not your family. The government is not your family. Organizations and companies, these are enterprises or businesses, and they're out to make money or solve some problem. While companies foster a great culture and provide support for their employees, when things go south, they're not going to treat you like family. A company might say, "We're a family," but when you're overworked, underappreciated, and your job is on the line, that company is not going to treat you with the same care as a family member would. And that's fine, because a company is there to do business, not to raise you. So next time your manager drops the family line, just remember, they're not buying you dinner on your birthday because you're family. They're paying you to do a job. So don't feel guilty about setting boundaries yourself and making your well-being a priority. Companies that value you will support you, but they're still there to do business, not to be your surrogate family. Number 6, next, let's talk about the myth that you need to be super social to succeed at work. I can't tell you how many times people say, you've got to be outgoing and attend every social event if you're going to get promoted. That's how you build relationships. While networking and making connections can certainly help, you don't have to be a social butterfly to succeed in your career. This myth tends to get pushed on introverts a lot, and it's just not true. Being social can help, but it's not the only way to advance. Some of the most successful people are introverts who excel at their jobs and form meaningful one-on-one relationships. They're not at every happy hour, but they know how to connect with the right people when it matters most. If you're in a culture that builds relationships through company happy hours or fun offsites, here's the Rory rule for engaging in these moments. Try to stick between 0 drinks and 2 drinks, but don't go over 2 drinks. That's where the crazy stuff tends to happen. If you don't drink or you socially limit your drinking to 1 drink, it's okay to sip that ginger ale or red wine for 2 hours. It's better than getting fired because you disgraced a religious statue inside a high-end restaurant. Listen, I've worked in HR and recruiting for 20 years. I've heard it all. According to a study by Psychology Today, introverts, in fact, often make great leaders because they listen well, think before they act, and are highly empathetic. So, if you're an introvert, don't feel like you have to force yourself into an extroverted mold to get ahead. Work on developing your strengths, building solid relationships, and deliver great work. That's what's going to get you noticed. Number 7, finally, the lie that really irks me: you can't have it all. This is probably the most damaging lie because it's the one that makes you believe that you have to choose between career success, a fulfilling personal life, and your health. Well, let me tell you something. You can have it all. It just takes balance and boundaries. Sure, look, there are going to be times when you need to put more energy into work or personal projects, but it doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice everything else. Work-life balance is totally achievable if you take the time to manage your priorities, set clear boundaries, and take care of yourself along the way. A study by Gallup showed that employees who report high levels of work-life balance are 21% more productive and feel better about their jobs. So guess what? Having balance isn't just about feeling good, it can make you more effective at work too. And look, I'm not bragging, but I can say that I have it all. A great marriage, time to spend with my brilliant daughter, a multi-million-dollar business that impacts people in a positive way, great friends, and time in my life to enjoy my hobbies. This didn't happen by accident though. It took careful planning and the courage to curate my life on my terms. So stop believing the myth that you can't have it all. You just have to create a life that works for you. So there you have it, the 7 lies we hear about career success. It's time to break free from these myths and define success on your own terms. Don't let these outdated pieces of advice hold you back from pursuing what really matters to you in your career and life. On April Fool's Day and every day, don't be a fool and believe these lies about career success. If you found today's episode helpful, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep building that career you've always wanted, one that works for you.